Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's have a conversation. Gamecock fans alike, listen in. Gather on in, trickle on in. If y'all want to come on in here. And join me for a tale that almost has the same feel to it. At the end of 2024, you look at this roster and you look at what to expect in 2025. You're thinking to yourself, okay, got the best quarterback with the most athletic. We probably have the most athletic quarterback in all of the SEC returning. We have a receiving room that is young, but has a lot of explosive potential. Might be in for a nice season. And then you get to now. You get to where you are at this point in the season, and you're frustrated. You're absolutely frustrated. As you deserve to be, you know? So here's where you are right now as a whole and as a program. Right now, guys, you're simply not consistent. That comes with bad hiring in the offseason. That comes with inconsistencies when you recruit. You're lazy, and sometimes I feel like you don't want to spend the money because you're wanting to save that for God knows what else. Maybe you're wanting to save it for high school recruiting, but guys, the landscape has changed, and in my opinion, South Carolina is about 2 years behind the 8 ball of where they should be at this point in time. You look at programs like Indiana, programs like Ohio State, Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech. I'll take Ohio State out of that picture. Look at what they did over the last 2 to 3 years. They hired competent coaches. They hit the portal with a vengeance. They went out and got dudes that fit their system, and look at how they are right now. All 3 of them are in the top 10 right now. You are not. Sorry, you're not. So who is to blame? There's many to blame at this point in time. Number one, it's your coaching staff. You can start by blaming Mike Shula. Obviously, the play calling has been atrocious. It was a very, very lazy hire. And to be quite real with you, it doesn't help that your offensive line is behind the 8 ball as well. You have not had a consistent offensive line since the end of the Spurrier era. You haven't had an offensive line that has been very good and consistent. You're one of PFF's worst graded offensive lines. And you know what? That also goes up to Shane. He's got a majority of this for him to be blamed for it as well. You know why? That's his hire. For him to go out in a press conference after a game, I understand he's frustrated, and I understand how upset he is after the game. One of the first questions spoken to by Jack Beltry of Gamecocks Inside, he was asked if additional changes were needed on an offense. And he said, I made a change. I made a change last week, Jack. Every week we're looking at how to be better. And every week I do that, I will continue to do that and continue to evaluate that. So you haven't evaluated what has been put on the field right now. So you're not evaluating the following of where you are right now in regards to rankings around college football. By the way, Midnight Madness is going on right now in South Carolina. And dude, there's more people in the damn arena than I have seen at a South Carolina basketball game in forever. That's pretty incredible. By the way, Hayden Asseman has got a 44 in round 1 of the dunk contest. They're doing that right now. But out of 136 FBS teams, this is where you rank. You are 127th in total offense. You are 119th in third down percentage. You are 102nd in passing offense. You are 126th in the red zone. You're 120th in the rushing game. 133rd in sacks allowed. Boy, that's a real dandy right there. 126 in TFLs allowed, 127th in the time of possession. And you know what the most yards that you got? Total yards that you got in one game. And if you guessed it was Kentucky, you guessed right. You know how many yards you got? 341. All of that is the worst in 2 decades at South Carolina. And Shane's been here before. And you're going to tell me in his press conference that I'm evaluating further? This is how we're going to be better? Oh, we had a great practice this week. Well, guess what? He goes off and he says, next question. But before Jack says, hey, what gives you hope? He said, I see the way we practiced during the week. I see the number of guys that we had out today that I wasn't sure going to be able to play, that fought their asses off to get back out there and get healthy and be able to play the game. Be able to play today. I know the talent we have on our offense. Yeah, you know the talent. It's not being developed because your freaking play caller sucks. When are we going to have these difficult conversations about how maybe you need a complete offensive staff overhaul in the offseason? And to be quite frank with you, if Clayton White didn't have an extension, I would say you'd probably need a defensive overhaul as well. And you can look at me and say, well, they're top 35 in total defense. Well, I'm not seeing the same consistency that I saw from last year. You're getting pushed around up front. And it shows you that you don't have the dudes right now to compete at a high level on defense. Yeah, you're going to look at guys like, oh, we got Dylan Stewart. Oh, we got Brian Thomas. Oh, they're and all this great stuff. Oh, they're great off the edge. Yeah, sure. What about when it comes to stopping the run? You don't have that. I think you're the bottom 80 in defense in run stopping. It's not going to win you a football game. Your tackling has been horrible. The only consistent thing, and I said this yesterday on the Alabama live show, that the only consistent thing that I have seen all year long was your secondary. It's the bottom line. No Noun says those stat rankings are disgusting for an SEC school that started the season ranked in the top 15. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Goes back to player development. Goes back to staff evaluations. That falls all on Beamer. And to be quite real with you, I would say that you need a complete overhaul as a whole staff if you have the same result next year. That's if the season ends up at least 5-7 and you beat Clemson. If you do that, okay, we can have the conversation and say that Beamer's going to stay in Columbus. And he said he wants to stay in Columbus. But here's a guy that reacts on emotion, and he's a fiery guy. I like that about Shane. That's a great thing that he has that. But we've got to have this difficult conversation that many of you do not want to have. And I get you don't want to have this. I understand that. Really, I do. But we got to be real with ourselves and say, if we finish 4-8 and if we lose to Clemson at the end of the year, which I don't know if you're going to beat Bama this week. I don't know if you're going to go on the road to College Station and to Oxford and beat 2 top 5 teams before coming back home and playing Coastal Carolina. And depending on what Clemson should be at the end of the year, you should beat them. If you lose to them, though, which you better not, then he will probably jump ship and go take the Virginia Tech job, because that's still swirling around. After I looked around at this for a little while, and I just had to come to the conclusion that we could very likely be seeing Shane Beamer as a Virginia Tech head coach at the end of the 2025. Very likely. I'm not saying it will happen, but there is a high probability that it will. And if he does it, he's going to go into 2026 with a seat that is scorching hot. Scorching hot. So you better get ready, guys. They had the Fire Mike Shula protest on campus earlier today. Had like 25 people, and then that was pretty much it. It's like, all right, well, that was productive. It didn't get anything done, but I didn't expect for it to be a very successful protest of sorts. I guess that's what they call it. But, this is the reality that you as a fan base is living in right now. It's the bottom line, man. Number one, you don't have the dudes to compete because you got lazy in the offseason. Number two, your staff is horrible. And number three, this all falls back to Shane Beamer. And guess what? Jeremiah Donati, I think that's how you say his name. I've been saying Dante, and I've heard that last name be said many different times. So if I can get a pronunciation guy to that would be very appreciative. But he's got a lot of big decisions to make in the next year with South Carolina athletics. You're investing a lot of money into this program. You've got a new Nike deal that's starting next year. You've got renovations to the stadium, and we're hearing some rumblings on social media that a lot of season ticket holders are having their season tickets removed or revoked because of the renovations that are being done, which sucks. So now the fan base is starting to kind of dwindle down a little bit, which sucks. And if you think the on-field performance is not good, just wait until you see what happens if you have another season like you do this year, next year. It's going to be an interesting it's going to be an interesting 12, 13, or 14 months that we will have in the next couple of years. But let me get to some of these comments real fast. By the way, guys, we are live. This is the South Carolina Live Show here on the Voice of College Football Network. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am your host, as always, Lucas Hill. Thank you so much for the growth that we have had in the last couple of weeks, man. We've had 50 new subscribers to South Carolina Live here at the Voice of College Football. Guys, I'm telling you, we are one of the fastest growing platforms for all South Carolina athletics. I know basketball is currently doing, isn't it? What do they call their Midnight Madness, I believe. Y'all can probably tell me in the comment section of what it is right now. But thank you guys so much for always hopping on in. Y'all do me a favor. Y'all hit the like, share, and subscribe button if you are new to the channel. If you're watching us on Twitter, transition over to the YouTube channel. Y'all go ahead. I'm going to post the YouTube link in the chat. I want you guys to do me a favor. Give us give a Gamecock. You know what? Todd's right. Todd's right. Give us a Spurs up. You know what I mean? But I'm going to post the YouTube link. And I want you guys to hit the like, hit the share button, and hit that subscribe button so that you guys are always notified whenever we go live here on South Carolina Live at the Voice of College Football. Our guy Jackson Johnson is going to be joining us to talk Alabama in the next few weeks. So we are really excited, or Alabama this week, really excited to see how that all pans out. By the way, guys, always send us your super chats. They are very greatly appreciated. Help us financially support the Voice of College Football at the end of the day. Our boy John Edward Kruger called into the show on Sunday for our SEC final recap. He says, this team ain't being Alabama, Ole Miss, or Texas A&M. All I can say is we'll see, man. You would hope for a quick 180 on how you are defensively, but we'll see, man. Todd Gwynn says, hello. Hello, Todd. Thank you for joining us. John Edward also says, Shane will lose our fan base if he doesn't get it together. I think you've already lost the fan base from what your post-game presser was like today and how the teleconference was yesterday. That's my opinion. Todd Gwynn also says, well, we kind of already mentioned, give a Gamecock a Spurs up to you as well. He also says, the way we are playing, we better worry about Coastal. I mean, yes, if you lose to Coastal, though, bro, I would definitely, if I'm Shane, because looking at Coastal, I like Tim Beck. They're 4-3. And they've been blown out in every game that they've played. They've lost by 30 or more every single game that they have played. They lost to Virginia by 41. They lost to East Carolina by 38. And they lost to Old Dominion by 40. Their best win of the season is either against South Alabama and against Appalachian State. And both of them are combined 5-9, and Appalachian State is 4-3 compared to 1-6 for South Alabama. John Edward Kruger says, want to explain about today's presser? Anything he did or did not say? I was trying to look for his presser earlier today because I know he said some interesting things today. He said some things about the offensive line earlier today, which I think was really interesting. So he said, excited for a new week, grateful for another challenge. This kind of a recap of last week going into this week. You know, he says, Coach DeBoer has done an amazing job with them. Great athletes on defense, really good players and dynamic on special teams. Shoot. And then a quarterback that is playing better than any quarterback in the nation right now, which if you watch me on SEC Live, the Voice of College Football, you know very well with what I'm talking about. But the biggest thing that I took away from today, Casey Henry will not be playing for the rest of the year. Massive loss for your offensive line. And if it was bad already, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse because of how little depth you have at this offensive line. It's bottom line, man. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So he said on the injury, this is what he said on the injury issues on the offensive line. Is the same stuff happening again, or is it different? He says, I think it's different. Certainly you do an analysis of it during the season and something that we'll look at after the season in regards to the why of some of these things and how they occurred. But I think a lot of them are just kind of freak things and look at it, whether it be stuff in practice, stuff in games, how we're training. we did a deep dive a couple years ago because we had such a rash of them 2 seasons ago. Dude, that's one of the big reasons why 2013 or 2023 you were really bad, is because of your injuries and how inconsistent you were on defense. I don't think this is that, but still, to have it as many at one position is concerning and something I think we need to look at for sure. I think so I thought, how did I think of Coach Elliott for his first full game as the interim offensive line coach? I mean, I didn't expect a big 180. That's the number one thing that I want to say is, to be real with you, I really didn't expect whole much of a change from last week to this week. It was pretty much the same result, except you're more hurt. That's the number one thing. But I think Sean is so much more basic and so much and really just not really one-dimensional, but keeps it simplistic. You know what I mean? And that's what's the most important thing about what Sean brings to this offensive line group, is how he is able to, because he's done this before, guys. I mean, this is nothing new for him. But he's working with an offensive line that's depleted. You're basically on your second and third stringers at this point in the season. So that's a big concern, in my opinion. John Edwards says Ty Simpson's the Heisman frontrunner. Yeah, pretty much. He mostly just said how he's disappointed and we're not doing our job and he's taking responsibility. I mean, he says that every week, though. And John and Jay, and I'm looking at the chat that John Edwards pretty much said the same thing. Frank Rizzo said Shane Beamer needs to be fired. Let's see what happens at the end of the year. You may not need to worry about firing him because I don't think you'll fire him after this year. Now let's see what happens about what goes on next year. No Noun says, what'd you have to say about the tight end that decommitted? Was that a bad loss? I didn't know much about the guy. Well, that's your second tight end loss of the season. Now this is the second one because you lost Mike Smith to the portal a couple weeks ago, and now this kid decides to decommit. But I do think that this is a kid that was committed to South Carolina for a very long time. He's been committed to them since, I think, September of last year. So to have this sort of loss for a program is significant. It's ridiculous that you have this sort of loss, in my opinion, and it's going to come back to haunt you at the end of the day. But let me take a break real fast. We got Jackson that's about to come join us, come talk some Alabama football. Let me go get to this break. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is South Carolina Live here at the Voice of College Football.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
Jackson Johnson, Alabama at the Voice of College Football. How are you today, man?
I'm doing all right. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
I cannot complain, my friend. I'm glad that you joined because you pretty much joined at a good time because we've got a lot of comments. They've been waiting for you. Todd Gwynn says, hello there, Mr. Jackson.
Hey,
I
Todd,
wonder
what's
how
up,
Miss
man?
Jackson is doing, by the way.
Oh, man, just getting ready to rock and roll for Saturday. Get ready for another week of college football. And I think I've got some NBA on NBC on the Peacock app on my phone.
You're watching the NBA?
I mean, I'm
Brother,
making.
do you want to know how long it's been since I've watched the NBA?
Oh, wow. How long?
Probably since 2019.
Wow.
I just lost interest in it, bro. Like it's just not my thing anymore, honestly. Like, but I mean,
Well, you'll miss out on Michael Jordan doing some analysis on NBC, good buddy.
MJ's on NBC.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
How much did they pay the dude?
A lot, I'm sure.
I bet so. That's weird. I'd have never thought. I knew NBA on NBC was coming back. I didn't expect MJ to be on the call for this one. But Jackson, I'm glad you're in here. South Carolina got to go and host Alabama, as we talked about. Yesterday, I brought this up on your show. And I found this to be a pretty interesting talking point because last week was one of the worst rushing performances of the year, probably the second worst because South Carolina had -9 yards against Missouri rushing. And I kid you not, that's an actual stat. But when I look at this Alabama run defense, which I have found to be the weakness of this defense, your front four has kind of gotten pushed around at times in the run game. You allowed a 100-yard runner last week for Deshaun Bishop.
Ugh.
South Carolina, on the opposite hand, has been struggling running the football. You thought you had your answer in Rasul Faison. He's obviously gotten off to a rough start. Your running back rotation is garbage, in my opinion. What are you looking to see from improvement on the front seven going into Saturday?
Oh, we have to stop the running game, no doubt. Because as you mentioned, like when Bishop went on that huge run to score that second touchdown against us last Saturday, that made me feel like if we don't stop the running game, I mean, it may not bite us in the rear against South Carolina, which, I mean, nothing against South Carolina. Sorry, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. But South Carolina can catch us looking ahead. And if we're not stopping the running game, then that's going to be ugly for us.
What have you been impressed with so far, just in regards on that front seven, to talk about the opposite side? Just we talked about the negative a little bit. Let's talk about the positive.
Well, we've been able to put a stop to the QBs. Like when we put a ton of pressure on Bo Pribula at Missouri, we put a ton of pressure on Joey Aguilar last week. That was huge. That was just humongous. And, you know, we've put like a ton of pressure on just QBs as whole. The fact that we shut out Vanderbilt in the second half, like with the way Vanderbilt's been performing this season, that's been impressive in of itself. Like shutting out Vanderbilt, like this year's team. Like, wow.
Yeah, I found that very impressive. And when I went back and looked at the film of that football game, I noticed a lot of real positives that came out of Alabama's front four, especially in the second half. You got after Diego Pavia a lot more. But what I've also noticed is that offenses have typically gotten away from the run game, especially if they get down against this Alabama team. And that's a mental psyche, in my opinion, Jackson.
Yeah.
I found that to be very weird, just in my opinion, because you saw Tennessee have a lot of success in the first half. Man, they're running the football. Deshaun Bishop's having a great game. You have Star Thomas, who didn't have the greatest of games, but you saw a little bit of consistency overall for the run game. And in the second half, you almost got away from it once you got down by 10 plus. That's what eventually hurts you at the end of the game. So what do you expect from South Carolina, knowing what we talked about yesterday, to maybe, I wouldn't say expose, but hopefully have a little bit of success on him, what you want to avoid at least?
Oh, yeah. We don't want Lenora Sellers running a bunch Because if he's getting like say 150 rushing yards, and Folson's getting like say 125 rushing yards, then that's gonna be an ugly night for the Crimson Tide.
Gotcha. So let me just say this, because there's a lot of angry South Carolina fans out there. The overall vibe out at Columbia, from what I'm hearing, is very frustrating. The campus just had a Fire Mike Shula protest out in the quad. And to say it went pretty much what you expect, it was 25 guys that went out and chanted Fire Mike Shula for about, 15, 20 minutes or so. And that was pretty much it. So nothing really all that special.
Oh, our Tennessee guy, Tucker Harlow, was telling me about that.
That was so stupid.
I'm just like, man, I knew that was going to happen at some point. I mean, you're going to get disappointed with Shula.
I thought it was really dumb, but I mean, this is what you get. And many people forget that this is Beamer's hire. And I feel like this has been the same story year in and year out. Oh, and it all goes back to when Marcus Satterfield was your offensive coordinator. Oh, it's not Beamer, it's Satterfield. And then all of a sudden it went from, oh, it's not Beamer, oh, it's Loggins. And then it went from, oh, it's not Beamer, it's Shula. Well, when is Mike and when is Shane going to take responsibility for a hire that was so abysmal, and what you saw in dating all the way back to the bowl game in the Cheez-It Bowl at the start of the month?
Yeah.
Knowing where you are offensively and how this has just been a disaster for you at the end of it all.
I think when it gets to that point where it's for Beamer to go, it's my fault, is when South Carolina has a losing season and doesn't make a bowl game.
Hopefully you're inching closer and closer to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a scenario where you beat Bama. That's just my opinion. We already went over our score predictions earlier yesterday, so you already know what I think. I don't see a scenario where you beat Texas A&M, and I don't see a scenario where you beat Ole Miss. Right now, Alabama by far is the best offense that South Carolina will play all year. You played the best defense and that you played all year last week. Now you got to play probably the number one offense, and with the array of receiving core that you guys have. So talk to me a little bit about that and what South Carolina is getting ready to expect.
Well, I think that South Carolina may have this attitude of, you know what, we've got nothing to lose, so we're going to see if we can go out with a bang. But I feel like you could see Alabama play with their food a little bit, against South Carolina, kind of like how you saw Oklahoma playing with their food a little bit. I mean, like John Mateer was punting last Saturday. John Mateer was punting with 4 minutes left in the game. Like, good grief. I mean, it was just... this is not a good year for South Carolina.
No,
it's just not. It's terrible. It's a disaster. I mean, I bet South Carolina. Wait a minute. No, you play Kentucky already this year. Like, good grief. Oh man.
Jackson Wynn says that you need to tell the truth.
Well, the truth is, the best part about being down is the way to go is up.
That includes making some ballsy moves in the offseason.
Agreed. Make some staff changes. Make sure that you've got things rolling.
Unfortunately, I don't think you have that at this point in time when it comes to South Carolina. Now, men's basketball is having the time of their lives right now. They've got, I think, what is it, midnight? Is it Midnight Madness? What's going on right now at the stadium? Or is it something else? I don't know what y'all call it at this point in time. It's Garnet and Black Madness. Okay, that's what it is.
Garnet and Blackman. Yeah,
That's right. Okay.
I'm calling this year disaster zone for the Gamecocks. It's just been unexpected. I mean, nobody was sitting there thinking, "Oh, we're gonna lose. We're gonna be having 4 losses after week 1." Like nobody did. I mean, if you told somebody South Carolina was gonna be 3-4 entering Bama, I think everybody would look at you like you got 2 heads coming out your shoulders.
Jackson, remember when I said I don't even know if you remember this, but I told you whenever I think you came on one of my shows or I came on one of your shows that I had South Carolina Bama as a trap game for Bama.
Yeah.
Knowing what could have happened at this point of the season. Part of me still wants to believe that, but from how this offense is moving, I don't. I can't come to terms with believing it at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, man, it's like Lenoris Sellers getting hurt like he did this year against Vanderbilt. I think that really changed the season for everybody.
Right.
I don't, well, no, I can go ahead and compare. I can compare this season for South Carolina being kind of like 09 Oklahoma. I mean, maybe that's a bit of a stretch. But, Oklahoma had real high hopes. Then Sam Bradford's getting hurt against BYU. Tail end of the second quarter. Oklahoma loses. And then we see Sam Bradford come back against Baylor. Oh, all hope is risen. Happy days are here again in Norman. But then October 17th, 2009 on ABC at 11 a.m. Central Time, noon Eastern Time, you see Sam Bradford getting hurt in the first quarter against Texas. And he's out for the rest of the year with another shoulder injury. So he was out for the rest of the year. And he had a pretty good agent getting him being number 1 pick in the 2010 NFL draft. And Oklahoma had a disappointing year by going 8-5 and ending it with a win over Stanford in the 2009 Sun Bowl. I believe.
Do you see a scenario where Lenore still goes number 1?
No, I'm afraid not. Sorry.
Do you think he stays in Columbia?
If he's smart, he should, but I feel like somebody's going to get in his ear and tell him, no, you got to leave for the draft.
Do you want to hear my answer?
Absolutely.
Your best bet for Lenoris is you got to go transfer somewhere else, dude. It's bottom line. And people don't want to hear that. South Carolina fans don't want to acknowledge the fact that you're severely behind in just about every aspect. You have not had a consistent offense. You have not recruited at a high level. It's on nobody else but you. It's on that will always be on nobody else but you. And like I mentioned, y'all may not want to hear that. That's the truth, though. It's what you need to hear. It's not what you want to hear. It's what you have to hear and what you need to hear when it comes to where South Carolina is at this point in time. Because right now, you're behind the 8 ball in a head coaching search. I get he loves Carolina. He's from South Carolina. He's from Florence. He literally lives about, hour and a half away from the university. And they're throwing a lot of money at him to stay. He rejected a $6 or $7 million deal to come back to South Carolina. And this is what you're producing. Part of me feels bad for the kid that he has to deal with this. But maybe he looks at this and says, one of 2 things are going to happen. He's going to have to have a say when it comes to getting a play caller, or it's going to end up leading to him transferring, going out the door, and essentially having to go someplace else. Because right now, I don't think South Carolina is sustainable for him to be their quarterback for the next few years.
There is one place I'm thinking about if this coach if a certain coach can stay at this certain place, and it's in the ACC, but it's not in the South.
Okay, because I thought if you were going to say South Carolina, I was going to say, heck no.
No. but it does start with an S and ends with an E. Syracuse.
What?
Bram Brown and Syracuse. I mean, it's.
Have you seen what he's done with Ricky Collins?
Ooh.
Now, I get that Ricky Collins is not the athlete that Lenoris is, but I mean, I don't think that it would fit what Lenoris does, because if you look at what Kyle McCord did 2 years ago, that was a match made in heaven, in my opinion. That was a pro-style pocket passer mixed with a pro-style offense. It meshed together, and it was a match, and it was perfect for him. Lenoris is not a pocket-style quarterback. He's a mobile guy that wants to get outside the pocket, that wants to move the offense around, that moves with his pace, which is tempo, which is getting creative in his offense. And Syracuse is just not that. Now, they would have to throw a major bag at him. And I don't think he'd go because it's in the ACC, and I don't know if Syracuse has the money to afford a kid like that.
Wow. Well, let me see. I would say, well, no. Oof. Don't go to Central Florida. No. They're too focused on the good old days. What would be a good place for?
I want to go to this comment real fast, Jackson, because No Nouns has been a loyal listener for a long time now. This Lenoris Sellers transfer and talk makes me want to puke. I don't think he leaves. Should he? I lean towards yes, as much as I hate to say it. And look, this is one of those uncomfortable conversations that I've been talking about for the last couple of minutes. Is that, look, we gotta have these conversations before it even happens, so we can save you guys the heartbreak or the frustration, whatever it is. Look at what Tennessee had to go through a couple months ago with the whole Nico Iamaleava situation. How much did that make Tennessee fans feel? And look, I'm curious to hear what a media perspective of it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's been insane for. Yeah, it's just been insane for this season. Like, not been a good year.
For the SEC as a whole, or just for South Carolina?
South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I say we have to have these uncomfortable conversations that maybe nobody wants to have at this point in time. Jackson, I want to talk to you about this, man. The biggest matchup that we need to look out for this weekend. What are we expecting to see that's going to be the key matchup to look out for?
Oh, you got to keep it. You got to make sure your cornerbacks are looking at the wide receiver room at Alabama. Y'all got to be keeping an eye and making sure y'all can put a stop to Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard. Y'all got to make sure y'all are stopping Isaiah Horton, and don't keep your eye off Lottie Brooks. Lottie Brooks, you underestimate him, he'll chew you up like a chicken nugget.
I think for as much attention as a guy like Ryan Williams gets, I don't think Isaiah Horton gets enough praise for what he's done this year, being that what, in my opinion, has been Ty Simpson's number one option. I know people talk about Ryan Williams is an athletic freak, 18 years old kid that is just incredible. But I mean, guys, where's the talk about a guy like Isaiah Horton? Because that kid is a freaking nature. He should be in the conversation for the Biletnikoff Award, and rightfully so. But I feel like he's getting overlooked because of how deep that Alabama's receiving core is at this point in time.
Oh, yeah.
What say you?
Yeah. Put him on that list at the Biletnikoff Award.
Because I think right now the Biletnikoff has, I believe, one Alabama receiver that is on the Biletnikoff Award list at this point in time. Yeah, they have. Never mind. I thought they had one. No, they don't. But it's between Mekhi Lemon, Chris Bell from Louisville, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, Elijah Surratt, Jordan Tyson, Mario Craver, and Chris Brazel. But, I mean, why not throw a couple Alabama guys up there, man? I think that this is probably the deepest receiving core that there is in all of college football at this point ahead.
Yeah. Man, we've had an offensive juggernaut in Tuscaloosa this year. It's like the running game, we just have to make sure our stats are looking good on the running game, but I feel like it's going to get better as the weeks go on.
I feel like you have to get healthy in the run game too. Jam Miller's been struggling with injury. I mean, offensive line wise, you haven't been 100% most of the year. Now you're at this point in the year where you should be rocking and rolling at this point. So I think that's the beauty of the second half of the season, is that finally when you get guys healthy, you can ignore what happened at the beginning of the season. So this team is, in my opinion, Ty Simpson's the best quarterback right now in college football. He very likely is atop the Heisman list. Does not surprise me that he could win it. Wouldn't surprise me if Fernando Mendoza would win it. One of the two, I think both of them are going to be one of the best in college football when it comes to the quarterback position. But right now, I mean, Ty Simpson has the edge because of how consistent he is and what he's doing at an elite level.
Oh, man, the Heisman race is going to be awesome between Pavia, Simpson, and Mendoza. Like, that's going to be, like, wow.
Can I be honest with you? I don't have Diego Pavia in my Heisman rankings.
Okay.
Would you like to hear my top 5?
Absolutely. Let's hear it.
I have Ty Simpson, number 1. I have Fernando Mendoza, 2. I have Ahmad Hardy. Well, I would have Ahmad Hardy at 3. But I have – who else do I have? I have – damn, I had his name. I'm trying to think of. I'd have Dante Moore at 3. I still think he's up there. I think Julian Sayin comes in at 4. And I'll have Haynes King at 5.
Wow. There you go. I mean, Haynes King has been a winner this year for Georgia.
Haynes King is a freaking dude.
He's got Georgia Tech 7-0 for the first time since 1966, the last year of the Bobby Dodd era. That's awesome in of itself.
Haynes King is the reason why Georgia Tech remains relevant, and he is one of the true definitions of a dual threat guy. I don't expect him to get drafted high at the next level because I think he's a 6th or 7th year guy, but he'll be 25 by the time he enters the draft. But I mean, seeing what he's been able to do in this Georgia Tech offense, he's already eclipsed majority of what he did in the run game last year. He could be on his way for a 2,000 and 1,000 yard season, 2,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards rushing. I would not be surprised if I see any of that. So there's a lot that I really like about Haynes King, and I think it's highly disrespectful that he's not part of the Heisman talk at this point in the season.
Well, maybe they just need to wait until Georgia Tech, I guess. Because I think Georgia Tech can beat Georgia this year.
Yeah, I would expect that football game. I think Georgia Tech's going to remain undefeated all the way up until the last game of the season, which I was going to go to that football game, but I ended up having some plans that were scheduled ahead of time, but no worries at all. They've already played Clemson early in the year. You play Syracuse, at North Carolina State, at Boston College, and then Pitt. Your only real test will be this week against Fran Brown and company. I know Dave Doran and company are still 4-3. Boston College sucks. Pitt, hasn't played anybody yet. And their only good win this year was at Florida State.
Oh, they're going to give Notre Dame a lot of trouble, especially when Notre Dame's coming to Pitt. Because something I always tell people is Pittsburgh is where dreams go to die.
Pitt just benched their starting quarterback too, which was I played against their former starting quarterback in high school. He's a good kid. I really liked playing against him. He went to Zachary High School out in Zachary, Louisiana. So
Wow.
a little bit of fun fact there for you. Last thing I want to talk to you about, Jackson, before we wrap up the show. Recruiting wise, we had a big commitment earlier this morning or earlier yesterday.
Ooh.
Trent Seaborn, who
Yeah.
it was a battle between Alabama and South Carolina for several months at this point. I had been following this battle for probably since July.
Nice.
I know Trent had already said that he was going to head out to South Carolina for a visit. He had made a visit, I think, after the South Carolina State game. But I think it goes back to where you are offensively. Alabama is light years ahead of where South Carolina should be. And to be quite frank with you, there is no other program that is better at developing quarterbacks better than where Alabama is at right now. How do you think this game affects the recruiting side of things?
Well, it does affect a lot of it, but I think Trent Seaborn, he's still happy with Alabama, but I can't wait to see who's going to be visiting the recruiting trail for Alabama or South Carolina, because that's going to be fun to see who's visiting on that game. Because when we see that, it's going to be awesome. But I don't think they're going to like playing for Sheila too much. No offense about that, but it's just
I don't even think that they'll have to worry about it because Shula's not going to be in Columbia next year.
No, he's out. Just don't stick him in the Big 12. Just stick him in like a Group of 5 school. Stick him somewhere in no man's land.
You talking about Mike?
Mike Shula, yeah. Don't put him in the Power 4.
Mike Shula shouldn't even be coaching college football anymore. I mean, he is so bad, it stinks. His play calling is about 10 years behind of where it should be at this point in time.
Yeah.
But that's light years compared to where Alabama is at this point in time. But Jackson, spread is right now, according to ESPN, for this game this week. I'm looking right now. It opened up at 13.5. Right now, it's at 11.5, which I think is rather interesting. So the line is going to continue to move down. I would expect for that to be around 10.5, or 11.5 point spread. Do you see South Alabama covering this one by 11?
I think we could beat the spread on this one, but I think it's going to be a little bit low scoring in the first half. Or, we'll be scoring very high in the second half. Or better yet, we just kind of have a big offensive game in the first half, but we just kind of play with our food for a little bit in the second half.
Play with our food. That's actually kind of funny. Jackson, for real, last thing before we let you go, man. We know that every single live show here on South Carolina Live, the voice of college football, is brought to you by our good friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Going over to underdogfantasy.com or download the Underdog Fantasy app on your Apple or Android device and use that promo code VOCFBSC. And when you play your first $5 lineup, you will get $50 instantly in bonus funds. That's code VOCFBSC. And when you play that first $5 lineup, you'll get $50 instantly in bonus funds. Must be 21 or older. Not available in all states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit 1-800-GAMBLER or going over to ncpggamblining.org.
Bravo.
It's fine. It's finally here, Jackson. We have our best bets. We'll drop best bets later on tonight, either tonight or tomorrow, depending on that one. Let's talk about Alabama side first. Ryan Williams right now. I'm going to give you an over. We're going to play a little game, Jackson. It's called over-under.
Okay.
Which one are you taking? Ryan Williams, Over 58.5 rushing or receiving yards or under 58.5 receiving yards?
Over.
Okay. I'll take the over in that one. I think that they'll have a nice little field day. Ty Simpson, over, higher, or lower? 260.5 passing yards.
Under, but just by a little bit.
I agree. I think that just knowing what South Carolina has done in pass defense, I do expect that one to be a bit into the under. I think they're top 30 right now in pass defense. One of the few bright spots of this program. Jam Miller, 69.5 rushing yards. You got the over or you got the under?
I'm going to say under, but just by a little bit. I'm going to say he'll probably get like 65 rushing yards. Because I think Daniel Hill and Richard Young are going to have some carries as well. And I think you're going to see Ty Simpson run quite a few times.
Jeremy Bernard, 63.5 receiving yards. Over or under?
I'm going to say over.
I'm going to say the over myself. I think Jeremy Bernard is going to have one of those games where he just continues to pop off. I'm going to think he's going to have one of those Vanderbilt-type games.
They're going to make Joe Tessitore get excited, and they're going to make Jesse Palmer stay away from the nice ladies at the Bachelorette for a little bit. It's going to be that great.
Josh Suavis, 27.5 receiving yards. You going with the over or under?
I'm going over, and it's basically going to be 33 receiving yards.
I'll go over the South Carolina side of things. Lenore Sellers right now, 175.5 passing yards. Over or under? I got to take the under in this one. I think that this pass defense for Alabama is just they're going to find ways to lock them up. I think Lenore's is going to have to think on his feet, which I think, too, over 20.5 rushing yards, I might take the over in that one.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm going to go under 175 passing yards, and it's basically going to be 120 passing yards to be exact.
Rasul Faison, over or under 36.5 rushing yards? I'm
going to go over.
I may take the over as well. I've been very hesitant because he's had so many games where he's been inconsistent, but I think he's entering this phase where he's starting to have his best games ahead of him. He's got over 100 yards the last 2 games. He's been pretty consistent as a whole, but you would like to see a little bit more from where South Carolina is at, or when it comes to giving him the football and where your running back rotation is. Oh, Lloytzer Brooks, like we've mentioned a couple times already today. You got the over-under on him, 34.5 receiving yards.
Over.
You've been liking Lloytzer Brooks lately, man. I don't blame you. He's a guy
after my guy.
Oh, here's a good one for you. Isaiah Horton, 41.5 receiving yards. You going with the over or under?
Over.
I'm going to take the over myself. Nick Harbor, 28.5 receiving yards. I got to see him catch the football and see him work. Please give me the over. I need to see more pop passes that'll go for first downs. We saw a little bit of that last week. I need to see some more this week.
I'll go over.
It's going to be a fun one here with South Carolina and Alabama set to kick off 2:30 Central Time, 3:30 Eastern Time. Is that correct, Jackson?
2:30 p.m. Central Time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC.
Going to be a good one over there. Thank you guys so much once again for listening in on South Carolina Live at the Voice of College Football. Follow my boy Jackson over at the Voice of College Football at Alabama VOCFB. There's all of his information there. You can holler at him on YouTube. Get him close to 1,000 followers on there. And he's also on Instagram and the Threads account at jackson.johnson.543908. You can follow me on Twitter at Lucas Hill SEC. You can follow the Voice of College Football on Twitter as well at THEVOCFB. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching. Hope the rest of your week is as good as it is. and we will see you all very soon. Y'all have a great rest of the week.